Hello and welcome to the News9 Plus show on the world's first news and current affairs OTT platform, News9 Plus. Today is the 3rd of December. Now, exactly 53 years ago on this day, India went to war with Pakistan. And the result of that war of liberation, was the creation of a country we call Bangladesh today. Now, one of the triggers for India's intervention in what was then East Pakistan was the Pakistan Army's genocide of its minorities. The Pakistan Army's crackdown in early 1971 saw more than 7 million Bengalis fleeing into India. This ended when Bangladesh was formed on the 16th of December 1971. And when Bangladesh was formed, it was a secular country where minorities made up over 20% of the population. Today, minorities in Bangladesh make up less than 10% of the population. Bangladesh is in turmoil today, and minorities are under constant attack. Ever since Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina was ousted in August, Bangladesh has seen over 2,000 violent incidents, mainly targeting the minority Hindu community. Extremist groups like the banned Jamaat-e-Islami have been attacking temples and worshippers, with authorities watching passively. The ban on the Jamaat-e-Islami has been lifted, and India has taken serious note of these attacks and it's conveyed its concerns to the government in Bangladesh. Now, just yesterday, British members of Parliament Barry Gardiner and Preeti Patel and Bob Blackman have raised concerns over attacks on Hindus in Bangladesh. They've demanded urgent action from the UK Foreign Secretary. West Bengal Chief Minister Mamata Banerjee has urged the Indian government to engage with the UN for deploying a peacekeeping force in Bangladesh amid rising attacks on minorities. So how should India respond? What are India's options really? How to make the Mohammad Yunus government act? Joining me to discuss this are Ambassador Bhaswati Mukherjee and Shubir Bhaumik, author and senior journalist. And the studio I have with me my colleague Nivriti Mohan. Welcome to the News9 Plus show. Ambassador Mukherjee, today is the 53rd anniversary of the war that actually created Bangladesh. Is it time, you think, for India to step in today and protect the minorities once again, as it did over half a century ago?
When the Indian Army intervened after the genocide was not just of Hindus.
Yes.
The Pakistani Army freely slaughtered brother and sister Muslims.
Yes.
Because they were Bengalis, and they looked down upon them with contempt. They regarded Muslim Bengalis as second-class citizens in a state that considered itself to be superior in every respect as far as West Pakistan was concerned, and they refused to allow the democratically elected Prime Minister designate, that's Mujibur Rahman, take power. Today, the situation is different. Today, the situation is that the attacks have happened on some Awami League politicians who are Muslims.
Yes.
But most of the attacks are targeting Hindus specifically.
Yes.
And has caused a situation where 1.5 crore Bangladeshi Hindu citizens are looking at a very uncertain future. So much so that ISKCON, Kolkata, has given instructions to its monks in Bangladesh not to wear saffron, not to wear a tilak, not to stick out in public. It's almost like you would imagine what could have happened in Germany when Hitler decided to zero in on the Jews and made them all wear those yellow stars, so that they knew exactly how to pick them up and take them to the concentration camp for extermination. It's coming to a very similar situation. If ISKCON's own chief in Kolkata can say something, if Mamata Banerjee can ask the center to ask the UN to send a peacekeeping force, it means that there is fear of extermination or a kind of Holocaust-like situation where Hindus will be rounded up and exterminated.
Absolutely. Ambassador Mukherjee, fear over Bangladesh, as you said, it's Bangladesh's Kristallnacht moment in 2024. And Subir, it reminds me of what the Pakistan Army launched in March of 1971, that infamous Operation Searchlight, where they targeted members of the minority community and, as Ambassador Mukherjee mentioned, Muslim members of the Awami League as well. Muslim citizens were targeted. It was, if you can call it, a secular targeting of Bangladeshi people. But today, this new Operation Searchlight seems to specifically target minorities within Bangladesh. Subir, you've been a journalist, you've been covering Bangladesh for decades. Tell us what you're hearing from the ground.
Well, the situation is no different from 71. If you guys think only Hindus are now targeted, you are mistaken. 45 shrines, Sufi shrines.
Right.
And if you know the history of Islam in undivided Bengal or the Bengal front, David Eaton says, Sufism played a critical role in bringing Islam into this region and create a syncretic culture, interfaith culture, which impressed Ram Mohan Rai, the father of Bengal Renaissance, and it helped him form his reforms agenda. So Sufism is very deep. There are 3,000 Sufi shrines in Bangladesh. 45 have already been attacked very brutally. Most importantly, the Jamaat-e-Islami's Facebook ID, Bashir Kenda, has openly said that more such attacks should happen because the Sufis are involved in dancing and music, which is anti-Islam according to them, which they say they smoke cannabis, all kinds of allegations.
Right.
The Ahmadiyyas are under attack. 17 Ahmadiyya shrines have been demolished since Sheikh Hasina fled the country.
Yes.
Buddhists in Chittagong hill tracks are under attack. 5 of them have been killed. Over an incident of a Muslim motorcycle thief.
Right.
The Chakmas, they were attacked. Army opened fire.
Yes.
And it's not just minorities, exactly like Nazi Germany, exactly like 1971. Anybody seen as a challenge to this hardline Wahhabi Salafist Islam, including secular Muslims who are dubbed as Murtad, apostate, they are under attack. Can you believe, my dear sisters, whom Bhashwati may know, people like Barrister Tania Hamid, who spearheaded the petition to deregister the Awami League, Jamaat-e-Islami is a political, she has to flee the country today.
Right.
A very secular, she's a barrister, famous barrister. She has been framed on a murder case.
Right.
The British Party parliamentarian report has clearly said that the judiciary is used as a political weapon today. Thousands of fake murder cases have been filed against people like former Minister Tarana Halim, Tania Hamid, specifically women leaders who can challenge this hardline Afghan version of Salafist or Arab version of Salafist Wahhabi Islam. They have all been targeted.
They've all been targeted. Everyone's under, everyone's fair game. Anyone who's not a hardliner is fair game in this new Operation Searchlight, as Subir mentioned. But Nivriti, before I come to you, a quick question to Ambassador Mukherjee. Ambassador Mukherjee, when the student protesters took over in August, when they were on the streets, there was a kind of a global euphoria. Oh God, this is Bangladesh's Arab Spring moment, and the hated autocrat has been overthrown. The secular dictator has fled the country. But as we're witnessing in the last couple of weeks, there seems to be an Islamist winter that has settled down on Bangladesh, exactly like what we saw in Libya and Syria and all the countries where you had the so-called Arab Spring, where secular dictators were unseated and you had an Islamist winter there. Is Bangladesh also headed for this fate, given the rise of the Jamaat-e-Islami, which is a party that Sheikh Hasina had managed to keep at bay for several decades? The Jamaat is back in business, it looks like, from what Subir is telling us.
First of all, I'd like to say about the Arab Spring. So when I was ambassador to Netherlands, the Saudi ambassador told me that the Arab Spring can only be a fiction of the West, because in Arab countries there is no spring. I've never forgotten what he said. There cannot be Arab Spring because there's no spring. They go straight summer to winter, winter to summer.
Right.
As far as what's happening in Bangladesh is concerned, which I have followed and written a book on Bengal's partition, I do not believe that we are at the situation that Germany was in, though it's close to it, for the very simple reason that whether the Jamaat likes it or doesn't like it, in a free and fair election, the Jamaat cannot win.
Yes.
Secondly, as my co-panelist very correctly pointed out, Bangladesh's creation was based on Bengal's syncretic culture.
Yes.
My parents come from Dhaka, Bikrampur. That's why
Right.
I wrote the book on Bengal partition. That syncretic culture involves reciting the Quran in Bengali,
Ambassador
not in
Mukherjee's-
Arabic. That syncretic culture involves folk songs which include both Hindu and Muslim cults together. That syncretic culture includes those Sufi saints. And that syncretic culture cannot be exterminated. It was much easier for Hitler to exterminate the Jews because they stuck out for him like a sore thumb. But in Bangladesh, the majority culture, civilization, language, theatre, songs that
Yes.
all of us Bengalis are so proud of, that springs from the syncretic culture which cannot be demolished through a so-called Islamic winter.
Yes.
First of all, Bengal has no winter.
Right.
Just like the spring, there is no winter there. You know, Bengalis wear monkey caps when the temperature is 25 degrees. So no
course.
cold weather. Okay.
No spring
So-
and no winter in Bengal. Very, very important distinctions. You know, Ambassador Mukherjee, this just tells you how Western cut-paste templates never work in our part of the world. It doesn't work in Asia. It possibly doesn't work in Africa either. But, you know, when we celebrate these kind of moments, we don't understand the kind of, chaos that follows. And as we're seeing in Bangladesh, this new Operation Searchlight, if you can call it, which has caught minorities in the glare. Nivriti, you were pulling out some statistics about the number of minorities in Bangladesh and how there's been an alarming decline in the number of minorities in Bangladesh since 1971.
Yes, there has been a consistent and considerable decline in minority population, especially the Hindus. If you talk about 1971, then the population of minorities was around 23 to 24%,
Right.
which has now declined. If you talk about today, it is around 9% or 10%, and Hindus are 8%.
Right.
So there has been a constant decline, but still until the rule of Sheikh Hasina, there
Yes.
was some control on these kind of incidents that has happened. Although Mohammed Yunus has been denying it, saying that this is not, these attacks are not based on religion or
Yes.
something, and everything has been exaggerated while it is put on media. But the fact that the monk has not been able to find an advocate
Absolutely.
for himself.
He's not been able to find a lawyer. I mean,
yeah.
it is a travesty of
And his previous
justice.
lawyer has been attacked.
Has been beaten within an inch of his life. Subir Bhaumik, you believe that there is a plan, and we discussed this with Ambassador Mukherjee just last week, the fact that there seems to be a kind of a plan to push the minorities out of Bangladesh, to silence them, to push them out of Bangladesh and redo the ethnicity of Bangladesh. Do you see this kind of a plan playing out now under the guardianship of the present interim government, Subir?
Well, Mohammed Yunus is doing exactly what Ziaur Rahman and Ershad did.
Right.
He wants to tackle not only the Awami League but also the secular Bengali linguistic nationalism on
Yes.
which the Awami League, it was the guiding philosophy of the
Right.
Awami League. And therefore, like Ershad and Zia,
Yes.
they are going to the other political constituency, the Islamists.
Right.
Jamaat-e-Islami has never got more than 8% of the popular vote. Today, Jamaat-e-Islami is the first party to be invited in all party political confabulations in
Right.
which the army chief, other people are there. Let me tell you something, this Yunus chap, and I'm calling him as it is. Well, they say he's a great economist. He didn't get Nobel Prize in economics. He got it for peace. What
Yes.
kind of peace he's presiding over, we all know in the last term. Most important thing here, and I stress this again, the Lalon Mela, famous Lalon Fakir,
Yes.
who is symbol of this syncretic Bengali culture that Bhaskar was talking about. That Lalon Mela has been cancelled.
Yes.
In Narayanganj, it is held every year, it is cancelled. So, at the political level, all the symbols attached to Bengali secular nationalism
Yes.
has been targeted. Sheikh Mujibur Rahman's images have been desecrated.
Yes.
The Liberation War Museum has been attacked.
Yes.
The documents have been torn up. At the social level, which is more dangerous,
Right.
which is much more dangerous, is this systematic attack not just on minorities like Hindus or Buddhists, but also a very systematic attack on other Islamist strands, which are
Yes.
considered deviant by these hardline radicals. And you talk of student revolution, who are students? These chaps are Hizb ut-Tahrir people.
Yes.
I have known them. This
Right.
fellow Nahi, Mahmoud, these are all Hizb ut-Tahrir people. Hizb ut-Tahrir. Now, after Jamaat Islamist ban was lifted, the Hizb
Yes.
ut-Tahrir, which is banned in several Islamic countries or Muslim countries, is now demanding that the ban on them should be lifted.
Right.
Look at this. And lastly, let me point out to Attorney General of Bangladesh, Asaduজ্জামান, has clearly during a court hearing on the 15th Amendment,
Yes.
which did not, cancel Islam as the state religion that Ershad had brought in, but did give back minorities the right to practice freedom of religion.
Yes.
During a hearing on 15th Amendment, Asaduজ্জামান, who is the Attorney General, has said that the word secular should be dropped
Yes.
from the Bangladesh Constitution. So here is a very clear attempt by Mr. Yunus. And do you think, Sandeep, that the Attorney General can say such an important thing without the clearance of the Chief Advisor? So Yunus is in cahoots, he is in bed with Islamists. His, his sort of liberal facade, Nobel laureate, sort of liberal donations. He's only liberal to the extent he's liberal in donating to the Clinton Foundation, which
Right.
has got him a lot of influence in US.
Right.
But now Trump may not be very fond of him because Trump knows that he was funding the Clintons.
Yes.
But anyway, back to this Yunus's liberal facade is actually to conceal a
Right.
very clear agenda by the Islamists on whom he depends for his sheer survival, and which is that Bangladesh is taking the Islamist path. Bangladesh is going, and the Americans, who played this very important role in
Yes.
regime change with Biden's administration, they have done this everywhere. They got rid of Hosni Mubarak. Who did we get? We got Morsi, Islamist
Yes.
Brotherhood.
Right.
They got rid of Saddam. ISIS filled in the vacuum.
Yes.
So the Americans specialize in this so-called democracy where they bring to an end a secular dictator and then they are replaced by fundamentalists. This is, the way the American regime change operations have happened.
Is this?
Now, this is something India can never allow.
Absolutely.
And we have to take this up
We have to
very
intervene at
strongly
some
with the
stage.
Americans
And
the West.
Ambassador Mukherjee, Shubir, thank you very much. Ambassador Mukherjee, what Shubir Bhaumik pointed out, the fact that there seems to be some kind of terraforming of the environment in Bangladesh to allow the Jamaat-e-Islami, which was a party that was always outside of power when Sheikh Hasina was there. In fact, she very belatedly tried to ban the party a few days before she was ousted. But you believe that conditions are now ripe for the return of the Jamaat in whatever form. And we've been hearing this from the ground that, the Jamaat is back. We've been talking to students who are not favorable to the present regime, who are saying that these students, so-called student protesters, were actually all Jamaat-e-Islami, Hizb ut-Tahrir activists. And now they have a free, run of the country today. You believe that the return of the Jamaat is bad news for India, and at some point India should intervene? And what are India's options really?
First of all, I don't think that the Jamaat is going to return to political power through free and fair elections.
Right.
At some point, either Yunus backs down and holds those free and fair elections,
Yes.
by which the BNP will come to power, but they have
Right.
also said that Awami League should contest the elections because they want their return to power to be legitimized so that they can lean on the West for economic, political, financial,
Yes.
etc. Secondly, Yunus may or may not be an economist. He's not a historian. He should
Right.
perhaps read up history to know that the revolutions of this kind always end up devouring their own children.
Yes.
I don't think that Yunus is going to last for long. There will be elections. BNP will come to power, but Awami League cannot be ousted so quickly. The Jamaat cannot and will not win a popular election. As far as we are concerned, there are some important differences between now and 1971.
Yes.
In 1961, when we went in, we sent in the Mukti Bahini first.
Yes.
We were going into a situation where the civilian population wanted the intervention of the Mukti Bahini and the Indian Army, and today is a much more volatile and tricky situation. So
Right.
there is no comparison between 71 and now. We should first explore the other option, which is, for example, their textile industry.
Yes.
3/4 of what they require raw materials comes from Kolkata. We should
Right.
stop it. They have not paid their power bills. We should switch off the electricity. There are many ways to put pressure. We should approach the UN. We
Yes.
should take up the whole issue of a peacekeeping force. We should wait till President Trump becomes president and then
Right.
utilize his good offices to put further pressure and to insist on free and fair elections. Once the elections happen, even if the BNP comes to power, they will not allow the kind of chaotic situation today.
Right.
That is not possible, because if they do that, they will not survive either.
Absolutely.
As far as in military intervention is concerned, it's a very tricky situation.
Yes.
Because we would be intervening in a civil war where we are not sure which sections of the population are hostile to our intervening
Yes.
and which sections will be welcoming us. That
Right.
is completely different from 1971, where the 10 million East Pakistani refugees that
Yes.
turned my home state of West Bengal into a
Right.
giant refugee camp
Yes.
were Hindus and Muslims and other minorities. Today we have 1.5 crore Hindu Bangladeshi passport holders. We cannot allow them
Yes.
to cross the border into West Bengal, because they would come with another couple of million jihadis, and we
Yes.
would have chaos in West Bengal, in the northeast, in Assam, etc. Assam and the northeast are still suffering from what happened in 71. So
Absolutely.
we have to put the border straight. We
We-
cannot allow anyone to cross that border.
We cannot
That's the
allow
bottom
anyone to
line.
cross that border, indeed. And thank you very much, Ambassador Mukherjee, for putting that into perspective. The fact that while we are seeing anarchy inside of Bangladesh, it's nothing to compare to 1971. The conditions were completely different 53 years ago, and the conditions are very different today. And Nivriti, it seems like we have to wait for free and fair elections to be conducted. As Ambassador Mukherjee was saying, it is the anarchy of the present interim government, ironically helmed by a Nobel Peace Prize winning laureate, an economist who's actually responsible for this state of things. Elections are the only way forward, Nivriti.
Of course, elections are the only way forward. And one point that I wanted to make is, on one hand, you are seeing decline in minority population in
Yes.
Bangladesh, and on the other hand, you are seeing illegal immigrants coming in from Bangladesh and settling down in Indian territory and
Yes.
making demographic changes and
Yes.
bringing in strategic concerns for India, because all those areas where they are coming in and settling are strategically very, very important, sensitive areas. The entire northeast, if you consider, apart from Bangladesh, the northeastern states, Assam, all these.
There have been demographic changes, yes, and this has
Yes.
been flagged by several chief ministers. But that's a discussion for another day, Nivriti. But thank you very much, Ambassador Mukherjee, for joining us this evening, and of course, my friend and senior journalist Subir Bhaumik, for talking about this very burning issue in India's backyard, in Bangladesh, that's on fire, where minorities are unsafe. Ironically, at a time when we are celebrating the 53rd anniversary of a war that liberated Bangladesh from the specter of genocide.